Hi, my name is Keith Parsons, and we're at the Wireless LAN Professionals Conference. We go by WLPC on the social medias, and we have a fantastic conference going on. This is our 10th year anniversary, and over to you now.
Thank you so much, Keith. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cisco Unplugged. My name is Karen Espinosa, coming to you from Houston, Texas. I am part of the Cisco Wireless Center of Excellence for the Americas, and I am your host today, covering for Dan, who is on PTO. We are streaming live from youtube.com/@GetUnplugged. We're also streaming from Clear to Send. I hear is the #1 podcast in the wireless business.
There you
and
go.
Waves with Wireless Nerd. Don't forget you can register for upcoming sessions at cs.co/GetUnplugged. Today, we have a very special episode coming to you live from the Wireless LAN Professionals Conference in Phoenix, Arizona. Drew from Cisco is out there with a wonderful crew of folks this week, and he has a lineup that is amazing. I can't wait. So thank you. Hello, Drew, and welcome to Cisco Unplugged, and everybody, welcome.
Well, hi. We're having a good time. We're sitting on the stage. We've got a bunch of us are here. Waves. We've had such a great run, and we knew we were going to be live. We just didn't know when we were going to do it. We didn't know who was going to be here to participate, but here we are. So I'm going to let you all introduce yourself. We're going to work across the stage here. Who are you, and why are you sitting beside me? You're going to need that mic real quick.
Absolutely. So my name is Manon Lessard. I am a CX, a member of CX. I am a CSS wireless for Cisco. And I've been coming to WLPC for 9 years. I missed only the first one.
Oh, man, yeah.
And I've been running around trying to help Matthew and Keith and Tony and Sam to run this conference. And
Good. Well, it's fun. It's been a fun 10 years, huh? Yeah, that's the thing to mention. This is a 10-year anniversary of WLPC, so it's definitely more people, I think, than we've ever had. And who's this guy?
Yeah, I'm Steve Rodriguez. On most social media platforms, you'll find me as @Wi-Fi janitor. I'm a technical marketing engineer for Meraki, covering assurance and some of the wireless product lines. I'm here because I love to hear myself talk and speak about wireless, and Drew hasn't learned not to give me a mic yet. So one day he might learn that lesson, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah, right. And then beside you, who's this handsome gentleman? And just real quick, I do want to break it real quick. Whatever the feed is that we have here, I know you're recording, but we are not streaming right now. And the video that's queued up is the 2-up. So people now are watching our hold music again. The good thing about this is we can go back and edit this, but live is a little bit different. I think
It's tricky.
Should I start the
we might, yeah, we might need to. I'm at the four.
Cisco technical support?
I'm actually seeing, are you seeing that? Yeah. It's Cisco Unplugged is fine. Yeah. So it's fine on Unplugged.
Interesting. Okay, well, good. To the encoder for Restream, though, it is not.
If it's fine while unplugged, can we try plugging it back in for a second first?
Well, what good is it without a few technical difficulties, right? I mean, we took over the stage here at the very end of the day to try and get on it, but yeah, I am not seeing the desired feed there. There we go. Okay, yeah. And now you are up. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
All right, it's looking good. Let's just leave. Let's leave this alone. I don't know what Restream is seeing, but that's okay. All right, now where were we? We were about to talk to the handsome gentleman over here. Who are you, dude?
My name is Roel Dionisio. I'm CWNE number 210, co-host of the Clear Send podcast, and I do a lot of higher education Wi-Fi and some consulting.
Cool. And then you brought your partner with you, the partner in crime.
Yes, so I'm Francois Verges. I'm also CWNE 180. I bit you by a little bit there. I'm also co-host of the Clear to Send podcast. I've been helping Roel with the podcast for a few years now. And I also do Wi-Fi. I've been coming to the conference for not as long as Manon, but probably like 6 years now. And it's always a pleasure to be here, talk Wi-Fi.
Awesome. Well, this is a little bit more of a professional setup. I think when we did this in Prague, I grabbed a camera and some microphones and we sat down at the bar and we just interviewed people as they walked in. And it was a little bit noisy, but we had some really interesting conversations. So in the spirit of that, Well, what I'd like to do is just, let's dig into it. Let's dig into the show. We've all, we've been coming here for a couple of years. We've seen it change. It's grown. I think this is the largest audience that we've ever had. I'm looking at Keith Parsons, who's sitting behind. We'll bring you up here in just a second. Largest audience, 10-year anniversary. Steve, with you, man, what did you see this year? I mean, what are your big takeaways from the first 2 days? I mean, is there anything that you've seen where you've been like, and look, I'm going to be totally real. There's some topics I do want to touch on that, I could probably get in trouble for in the right circles, but I do want to bring them in. So what do you think, what are your takeaways so far from the show?
Other than just like the community and like everywhere we are at, right? If you're Ruckus, if you're Aruba, Cisco, Meraki, insert vendor here. Here you're not that. You're a wireless engineer. And all we have is love for wireless and a passion. And that's what makes us great. And that's what allows us to have people come up and talk about Wi-Fi 7 and how things are going to happen with preamble puncturing, how we're going to have things with Wi-Fi 8. We're going to have coordinated AP so you can, as Drew said in his presentation, start on that AP and get it back on that AP as you're roaming. Like things like this that are new and exciting that are coming out.
And it's not just talking about it, right? I mean, I walked in and the first thing I saw is a bunch of nerds sitting around looking at MLO actually running on a ubiquity access point. And there was like every vendor standing in there figuring out, how can I help you test this? And that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean, sitting there trying to figure out how are we going to get the best speed out of this? And Drew had to break out his handy little nifty tool to get the 2.5 gig connectivity to the AP and the switch so that we could have the bandwidth that MLO would work. Yeah,
it was an interesting problem to have. We couldn't find a switch port fast enough to handle the 2.8 gig that the wireless had negotiated. Presentation-wise, God, great presentations. Any takeaways from you on some of these presentations?
I really honestly, I did miss some of them because I had a little bit of a passion project running. But one of Wes Purvis's where he talked about, it was his third year talking Wi-Fi 6 and 6E. Man. And the adoption rate we've seen over the last 3 years just in Wi-Fi 6, and then the transition from WPA2 to WPA3 to be more secure, how that has flowed, and that's both having the APs, having the clients, and having the people willing to turn those new features on.
So that's what I was going to ask. I think one of the funniest moments is Wes looks out to a crowd and says, how many of y'all have Wi-Fi 6 or 6 gigahertz capable APs? Everyone raises their hand.
About 40% raise their hands. And the next question, how many of them have 6 gigahertz or are dual 5 and don't have 6 gig enabled? And 50% went up, and it was pretty funny.
It was. Well, cool. Well, I'll pass the mic over here, Miss Manon. What about you? You've been around WLPC for a while. What did you see this year? Anything new and exciting?
I absolutely love that we started with JJ and her perspective. That's just a little bit different because at the end of the day, we're all wireless engineers when we come here, but we all have different perspectives. And the various presentations, and given how Keith says it, by the people, for the people, we all have different perspectives, and you hear about that, and it allows you to consider a problem or a situation in a different light.
Yeah, it does. And I think one of the things, one of my takeaways on it was, I'm used to the first session of, I forgot what I said earlier, Peter McKenzie murdering us all with information bullets. He just comes in hard, and it's fire hose of information. I feel like this year was a little softer. JJ rolled out and was just hey, let me look at it from a different perspective. Let me bring a new light into this. And it wasn't that hard start that we always have to WLPC. That was saved for today with Tom Carpenter. I think Tom Carpenter really gave that moment where everyone was like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing here. Everyone's zoned in, oh, here we go.
And every year there's a moment like that which pushes our boundaries and our understanding of wireless. I remember the face of everybody and the fact that we almost had to pass around the Advils and the Tylenol after the end of the talk by Chuck Lukowski about BSS collaring how AX was going to work. And I can still feel the atmosphere was electric.
Well, I'll give you a chance to ask these two some questions. It's on you, bro.
It's
Go ahead.
all on me. All right. Outside of the presentations, I find that conversations with people are actually the most valuable I get out of coming to WLPC. what has been like a really good conversation that stuck to you so far?
It's a good one.
I've been running around so much and had so many conversations, but I've been very interested in the security aspects as of late, and conversations with JJ, conversations with Phil Morgan in his deep dive, and how, you know, I'm trying to think of one single thing I can tell you, but among other things, WEP83, which in my past life, before I moved to Cisco, was a very big consideration. Granted that I was working in higher ed, and we have all sorts of considerations with Edgerome. So that was one significant conversation. But otherwise, on top of my head, I mean, you know, the opportunity for networking is just amazing. So there are so many that I could think of that I'm having a hard time just singling one out.
I have an idea, Manu, so maybe I'll answer Roel's question. One thing also that I find interesting with WLPC is that you can relate to what the other people are saying really fast. You don't need to kind of explain. We have the same vocabulary and everything. So I was talking to Charles from Australia, and I haven't seen him in like 5 years, but in like 2 sentences, which is connected on a project that, he's doing, I'm going to be doing soon. So I was like, bang, bang, bang. And we got, deep into the conversation. How do you do things? And, how do you do this? And it's one thing that we don't really have at work when we go back home, like even with some people that work with us, like, what are you talking about?
You're like from a different world, man. Like...
But here, like, in two seconds, we're just on the same level, going deep. So that's also something I appreciate about WPC is you can just, right away have, really meaningful conversation about what you do with other people that do the same thing.
Yeah, that's great. And speaking of, before you do that, let me queue up another person here. Let's kick Steve off the stage. Let's get, who do we want to bring on here? I want to bring on Payman real quick to the stage, if you don't mind me giving you the boot.
No worries, man. Thank you.
That's good to see you.
You started in a bar last week. I'm going to go finish in the bar.
Go, I'll meet you there, man. I'll meet you there. Go ahead.
I was going to keep going with Francois's point. When you come to WLPC, you're not either we're all weirdos that love wireless,
I think
or we're just, for once, we're just normal, and like we're gonna pop open the Wireshark or what have you, and look at deep down, what's there and what's the protocol doing and why is it doing that. And that is the one thing that is amazing here is, we get to play with our toys and experiment and prove whatever we can read in guides. And, I keep thinking back to dual fives from way back. We started testing how it would all work out and if it would affect the transmission speeds to have dual 5 gigs, and so many tests throughout the years that we've done here. And as Steve said, the vendors getting together and trying to work out how everything works. It's
and
just
on that
amazing.
note, talking about new stuff and talking about seeing things work and so on and so forth. Payman, dude, it's like, you know what I'm going to ask you? What the hell are you doing here? You know what I mean? Like a mutual friend of ours introduced me to you like a year and a half ago and said, you need to talk to this person. And it took me a year to get in touch with you, I feel like. And finally, when you told me what you're doing, I was blown away. And then you said, yeah, I'll be at WLPC. And I said, yes, I was going to tell you to come to WLPC anyway. Who are you? What are you doing? And more important, like, why are you doing that? And what's great about this is you're doing something traditionally that hasn't been looked at, something that hasn't been done in the way that you're doing that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, well, hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. So interestingly, me and my co-founder, JT, one of our first jobs, we were LAN managers for a company, and that was in the year like 2000, which was only 2-3 years after wireless was there, and kind of stopped that job, and we went to grad school, and he studied astrophysics, I studied photonics, and we were kind of involved with data.
She was totally bored
You
in
know.
school, is what you're saying. You're like, man, we're going to go for the easy classes.
Got involved in optical telecommunication networking, but what was very fascinating was the whole concept of connectivity, because that's how we all kind of get together, and we wanted to kind of contribute to that. And the reality is that wireless is not the main mean. Everyone is connected through wireless. And, as nerds and scientists, we were very interested in data, machine learning, AI. And 7-8 years ago, we realized it's been used everywhere, but not much in networking. And we say, why? Let's try to find ways that it could be helpful. And that's why, we originally got to this field, and specifically now in the wireless side.
Okay, and what is it that you do? I mean, what makes you different than Ekahau and Hamina and NetAlly and CDOS, and like why you? What's the space that you're trying to look into?
Sure. So, as an entrepreneur, they say you build a product for your customers. So before building things, we start talking to a lot of solution architects, a lot of network engineers. We talked to, over hundreds of them, and we realized they see gaps and they would like to see innovation. They gave us the ideas, and they explained that this process that you want to build a network from the pre-sales activity, coding, all the way to the design, when you go to the deployment and then verification, the management. There are a lot of places that first are manual works that are happening there that they don't like to do it. They like to see automation. They see a lot of areas there that they like to get the recommendation. They have some sort of knowledge base there that learns from the best practices and tells them, oh, that's the best practices that's being done now. And that's why we came up with this idea of an AI assistant network planner. So when you go to this process, at every step, first you could get automation, and second you could get some recommendations. So the same way you go on these chatbots that you ask questions and they provide it for you, you could say, I have this project, this is my layout, parse it for me. It parses it for you. It might not be perfect, but it does part of the job for you. Say, okay, I'm designing for a conference, and I'm, that's my use case. Can you recommend what is the type of user densities, the type of clients, does it for you? And say, okay, this is the requirements. I want to have minimum sign or RSSI, all other requirements, and design this for me and see how it is. And all the way to the testing and say, what if I have 20% more people? What if in this room certain activity happens? What if I want to introduce a digital experience? And at the end, we have this digital twin of the area, of the end users, and of the network, so we could use it for the management and maintenance of the network.
Got it. So I'm going to pass over to you guys. I know you've used. No, you keep the mic. They've got one over there. I know you guys have used every tool under the sun. Does anything about what he's talking about? And the reason I wanted to showcase Paymon, right, is because this is a new tool that is a little bit different to here. So my follow-up question after you're done is you start thinking about what is it that this conference brought to you, and has that changed any of the way now that you've got a test case in front of you? So any questions for him on what he's doing?
What I was going to say is, the tool that we use, sometimes they impact our workflows. Like you would do something a special way, and then this new tool comes and you're like, okay, I need to take advantage of these tools. So let me rethink my workflow and see how I can integrate that tool to be more efficient. His product sounds like it's, one of these tools that will kind of shift, the way we do things, the way we interact with the customers. So I would have to see it more in details, I guess, to kind of see how that can impact, the way we do things. But I think in general, looking at earlier you asked about the presentation at WLPC. One thing that I've noted is that we're seeing more and more tools and companies coming up with solutions around what we do, and coming here and presenting different things, which I think is nice. It brings some innovation in the space. It means Wi-Fi is important. We already knew this, but other people think Wi-Fi is important. And I think the technology with the cloud technologies, the APIs and everything, it's mature enough today so we can actually start doing integrations. Yeah. And maybe, Inno is like one tool that we use and that integrates with, maybe the vendor tools or something else. And it would be interesting to see how we can bring that. Because, Paymon mentioned AI in networking. yeah, AI networking, we haven't really, and we're very protective of our design. You know, we've all designed Wi-Fi.
Of course, yeah.
And the installer moves our AP 1 meter. It's like, oh,
You lose your mind, yeah.
so I wonder how we can also evolve with the AI as an industry and as Wi-Fi engineers and see, you know, how, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have these answers. But Payman, when you talk to a lot of people, what do people think about, when you talk to Wi-Fi engineers, what do they think about bringing AI into there, or, you know, letting the cloud decide where the APs go?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think all the engineers, they would like to see their problem solved. They would like to see when they do a design, they don't need to go back there. If they could avoid site surveys and, you know, save them money, why not? So I think they all have this interest to see if these new technologies could, you know, bring those new features and solve those problems for them. But it needs to be proven, and then they, you know, they'll accept. But definitely I've seen everyone's open to share ideas and say where they would like to see innovation. And I think our job as an entrepreneur is, okay, they would like to see the change. They know what they want and how we could use AI, how we could use machine learning to solve it. And to be honest, many times you have the simplest algorithm in the world that solves the problem. Who cares? As long as it solves the problem, that's good enough.
So on that, interesting, you talk about bringing data in and using data to help solve those problems. We had the CEO of Ookla show up, and he showed up on the stage and in so many words took accountability for the elephant in the room that's been affecting a lot of Ekahau customers. I myself, I'm an Ekahau partner, I'm Ekahau certified, I'm an Ekahau user, and I've been treated terribly over the last couple of years, and I don't mind saying it because everybody's saying it. So to have the CEO walk in and stand up on stage and say, hey, I'm here for the industry, to me it was a great sign. Was it enough? I don't know. I don't know if you want to voice your opinion on it or not, but for me it was interesting because I thought it didn't go unnoticed that he was here, and I understood what he was trying to say, but I've talked to people who are like, yeah, it's great that he's here, but does that really change anything? And I think it does. I mean, there's been some shakeups over there, some movements and stuff, and you're definitely already seeing a new face on that company. And so then he started to talk about integrating different products and different services and things that he's bringing in from all their different properties, the speed tests and whatnot. I think that, you know, based on some of the conversations that you saw, was there anything that you saw here that has changed your perspective on the industry? Have you learned anything? You know what I mean? Because this is
Do you like us?
Yeah. Because this is a hell of a test case. I mean, this is a good pool of people. If they don't like you in this room, the chances of your product being viable are not going to be very large, I would imagine.
That's very true. Yeah, I mean, one side, it's true that I've not been in the wireless world, but I've been in many technical conferences, and it's very refreshing to see in a conference this morning they were talking about OFDMA, in detail. I'm like, I did optical OFDMA, and now I'm talking about wireless. So
I speak your language.
I can connect to people here. I was in different fields, but I'm able to connect. And one thing about this community is my first time, everyone's super open. I emailed and messaged, called these two guys and many more before coming here, and they all answered me. They were all willing to meet me.
It only took me a year, so.
They were very open to share and tell me, what they want and what they like to see. So it was a great learning experience for us to understand what our product really needs to do and what they like to see. And in terms of data, one thing that we believe in is that you need to have free imports and exports of data from different platforms. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so everyone could basically use the tool the way they want, and then.
So to put you on the spot, then UC came up from Hamina, and he had his Kanye moment. He's like, I'm gonna let you finish, but I think everyone should adopt open intent as a toolset provider. What are your thoughts on that?
Certainly, we are attending the meetings since we learned about it. I met with Jake and JT, our CTO, going every other week, and we definitely have that on our product roadmap. And yeah, we're definitely open to it, and
awesome.
Love the idea.
Awesome. May, do you have any questions?
No.
No?
I find it very
You grab that mic over there. So while you're talking, I'm going to swap you out. We're going to bring Lance on real quick. Unless Keith, you want to jump on real quick? Let's bring Lance on and continue the conversation. Thanks, man.
This point of view is very refreshing, and I hope that we welcomed you and to our community, and that you felt the love of the wireless geeks for their tools and for sharing the knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm going to cite Keith once again. He says that knowledge is, how do you say it? Knowledge is like manure. So the more you spread it, the more things grow.
Things grow.
So, yeah.
Well, speaking of knowledge, Lance, dude, I didn't even realize you were where you are, and you came up to me and you're like, you totally mentioned my company in your presentation. I was like, I don't know who you work for.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I never told you about that.
Yeah. So, okay, so the trend here, right, that I'm seeing, and thanks for going along on the ride with me on this one, is we bring in, you've got outside influence in our industry. You've got, Payman doing what he's doing and looking at it in a more holistic way and looking at it as a workflow way. I'm not saying the robots are going to replace us, but my presentation was kind of like, the robots are going to replace us in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. So we need to, in my opinion, we need to think differently about the way that we're doing our jobs. You work for a company that's basically saying, don't worry about doing your jobs. I'll do some of that for you, and I'll do some of the heavy lifting.
Right.
Who do you work for, and what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for not making me follow Keith, so I appreciate that.
He looks like he's either asleep or enjoying the conversation. I'm not sure which one it is. Right? It may be a little bit of both.
Yeah, so my name is Lance Romai. I'm CWE number 367. This is my fifth time here, so yeah, I love it. I work for a company called Meter. We're a networking as a service company.
Mm-hmm.
So
what does that mean?
Yeah,
tell me what that means, dog.
Excellent question. So with IT teams getting smaller, expecting to do more, there's just so much that people are expected to do. We think of ourselves as a it's right in the name. It's Meter. We think of ourselves as a utility, and that's what we want to do. That's what we want to accomplish. We want to have Wi-Fi, have networking be a standard utility that just works. You go into a facility, you go into a place as a new owner of a building or a tenant, and instead of having to deal with the hassle of getting things set up and dealing with 6,000 vendors, it just works. We do everything from ISP procurement to we build our own hardware, we install it, we maintain it and support it, and we refresh your product as new technology comes out.
And it's a good thing you guys haven't raised any money and you don't have any high-level investors. I just saw this blurb the other day. I mean, who is it that just came by and said hi to you guys? This is fascinating. Do you guys know this?
No, I don't know.
This is great. One of their investors. Listen to this. This is cool.
We just got a series of funding from Sam Altman's.
Wow.
He doesn't know anything about AI.
But yeah, it was kind of surreal. I was not even aware of the details until it happened. So it was pretty awesome. So it's a nice.
Yeah.
Excellent opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to everything that's going to bring.
And I think in my mind that validates it a little bit. And Niall was here last year. I did not see them this year. I don't know if they're here in incognito, but there's some people creeping around this show, FY. I saw the guys from Shasta, and they were sitting at the barbecue joint having drinks with some pretty influential customers, which was hilarious to see. So there are definitely some people that are here that are flying under the radar. I even got some of their stickers. But, from the perspective of what you all are doing, site surveys, all these other things that AI can solve. I mean, first off, what makes you different than a managed service provider that I can go to today and say, hey, here's money every month, solve all my problems, and the MSP does that for me? What makes you guys different there? And then two, why would someone want to use your service if they've spent their whole life learning and getting their CWNEs and becoming certified? And it sounds like you're coming in and you guys say, hey, this is network as a service. What happens to those fine folks?
Yeah, well, it's an excellent question. I mean, I I personally believe there's always going to be room for site surveys. There's always going to be room for CWNEs, wireless professionals to come into a space to do that kind of work. What we do is an alternate to that. We work with organizations that may not have the facility or the means to do something like that, or want to go down a different path. So, it's not. I don't think of it as an alternate to that. I think it's just. I don't think of it as a replacement to that. I think of it as kind of an alternate solution. So.
Okay, cool. I'll pass the mic to you guys. What?
Yeah, because I had a conversation with you guys the first day, right? We were talking about taking a look at it and seeing, how we could integrate it into what we do, right? And like what you were saying, I also put on many hats. So as we have a podcast, we got to think about the listeners or the viewers, and of course that is the big question with anything as a service is what happens to me? What happens to the engineer, the administrator? Am I out of a job?
Right.
And I think to an extent, there will be people that will lose their jobs. We'll probably see much more leaner teams, probably focused on other areas, other projects that are a lot more meaningful, rather than spending people to spend their time working on issues like networking, Wi-Fi. Right. If AI does have this continued powerful rolling trend here that fixes a lot of issues, which it has fixed for other industries, we'll see it soon with networking. And in my point of view, it's more about now trying to find other opportunities that come in the shadow of that, right? As things start to change, what other opportunities can you see there, and then take advantage of that and pivot. Like we'll all have to pivot in some way. Like Francois here does a lot of scripting and Python work, and there are a lot of people in networking that are saying we don't need to do that, while you have another group saying it's a must. You need to have it. But then you look at network as a service, it's like you don't need to do any of that stuff.
You don't need it. What do you need it for?
What do I do now? AI can't run cabling, so I guess that's what I'm gonna do.
Wireless, bro. Wireless. Duh.
I work with a lot of wireless engineers, and where we put our product into their environment, and frankly, it does free them up to do a lot of other things. And one thing that I do find that people appreciate is they do want to at least have that visibility and a level of control. So they don't want to be cut out completely. So they want to be able to get reports. They want to be able to see statistics. They want to be able to be a part of that process. They don't want to be it taken away completely. And that's kind of where we're at. We want to partner with you, not just take over.
Yeah.
And in terms of adoption, like what industry are you guys involved in terms of customers? Like what have you been seeing in terms of trends? And is it the kind of the target market that you guys had in mind at the beginning, or did you guys kind of evolve with the flow and kind of go wherever the people want you guys?
I can't comment on the beginning thing because I've only been there like 7 months. So you'd have to talk to our founders for that one. So, but we do a lot of carpeted space. We do warehouses. We do retail. We do various verticals, and we're constantly expanding into different areas.
So for the Wi-Fi piece, how do you deal with the RF environment, especially in complex environments? What do you guys do there? Because you may need to change maybe the antenna you're using, or you may have some capacity questions.
Right.
How does it work? Is it your job too?
Part of my job. So we use Hamina for our predictive designing. We have a great installation team. We work with a lot of low voltage cable installers who are really good. We do a lot of preliminary work. We do a lot of preliminary work prior to our installation, so we know exactly what we're running into. There's always tweaking and there's always improvement through auto RF and auto TX and those sort of things. But we try to make a good show of it.
So do you work with partners? Do you work with partners as you scale, or how do you see that?
How do you mean by partners?
Like if you start having a lot of customers requiring a lot of Wi-Fi design,
Can you call packet 6, for example, and have
Oh,
them
okay.
go and
Well,
do that
hey,
site survey
that's
for you?
always that's always in the cards. I think I think maybe we can. I don't know.
Okay.
But we do. Yeah. Sorry.
No.
So I'm
Anyone
gonna,
put in the bad
for
taste.
time, I'm gonna rotate you out. I'm gonna give you the last question again. Do you have any questions over here? And while you're asking your question, I'm gonna get Keith. You want to come up and chat with us for a little bit? I think we're gonna cut off here about 10 more minutes to go. So Francois bailing anyway. So stay here for a second. We'll let Keith come up. Yeah, man.
I was going to say, how about your customer? I mean, as Roel said, with the value that your services are adding, what does it allow your customers to do? Because I come from years and years of higher ed where we were always short on time and and short on staff and all of that
And money.
Budget. And budget and all of those considerations. So granted, you're freeing up their time. What do you see as the things that your customers can do because they're taking advantage of your services?
You can grab that mic. There we go.
A lot of people tend to be quite relieved that knowing they don't have to deal with a lot of the rigmarole of getting a network up and running.
Yeah.
There's a lot of steps. Even when you talk about just the ISP procurement, which we do handle through one of our particular programs. So, we have kind of like a Travelocity for ISP procurement where you can go in and you can get like the best deal, and then we set it up for you. So it's, everything along the path that makes it easier for our customers. And then once everything's installed, they can just like watch it work and view it from a dashboard. So there's a big weight lifted from that perspective. And if I could speak personally, I love the idea of taking a product. We build the hardware, we make the hardware ourselves. It's our product. We install it, we support it. We have every incentive to make sure that customer has a great experience. We're not taking a product and handing it off to somebody else and saying, hey, you use this however you want. We're seeing it all the way through. I think that's a wonderful thing.
That's awesome. So I want to shift a little bit. Keith.
Hello.
What's up, man? Dude, it's 10 years.
10 years, it's amazing.
I do, I want to start off with the awards today. Some great products got recognized. Hamina cleaned up on the first 2. UC came up here, and I don't know if you saw the picture on LinkedIn, but the team had the award, which was very good. Some, great products. Ruckus won the product. This is the product of the year. I don't know what it was. I can't remember the exact, but fantastic to see everybody online and voting and being a part of it. How are you, man? How do you feel?
I'm relaxed right now.
Yeah, you are.
Day's over. Oh wait, we still have a party to go. So I'm not quite relaxed yet, but yeah. But it's good. It's good. We after the sessions today, before the deep dives, we broke and had a CWNE photo shoot with just the CWNEs. And I think there were more CWNEs here than there were attendees of the first conference.
That's incredible. That's awesome. That's awesome. When you think back on taking the stage at the first one, did you ever imagine it would turn into this?
Truthfully, I didn't imagine we'd do it again.
That's fair. It was cold, if I remember correctly, also.
It was a really, really big risk. I had thought I wanted to make a conference actually very much like Tech Field Day, and you've been a Tech Field Day delegate, and I wanted it to be like the feeling you get as a delegate, but for lots of people. But the business model had to switch. It was entirely different. But I wanted that feeling. You go and you hang out, and it was the conference I wanted to attend. Mm-hmm. I've been going to Comdexes and Networlds and Interops and Cisco Live. I mean, there's lots of conferences.
Yeah.
But I didn't like being what was being sold.
Yeah.
You go to a booth and you just want to talk to somebody, and they're like trying to see your name. They got to scan you. It's like that little badge they want what's in your badge. they really don't care about answering your question because it's all about leads. And I didn't like being a lead.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk to other people and not have to describe every acronym I used.
I think, I had a conversation last night with an incredible group of people. You talk about, Roel, you mentioned side conversations. I had a conversation last night, and the quote that I heard, I wanted to remember it to give it back to you was, it was the boss, the manager of someone who's been coming to the conference for a couple of years, and it was his first year here. And he lives in Phoenix. And I said, what do you think? He said, I had to show up because I didn't think it was true. And I said, what do you mean? He says, the way that this conference is described, I didn't think it was real. I thought he was making it up. So this year I had to come see it for myself. I said, and what do you think? He says, I can't believe it's real. And I was like, that right? I was like, it's so cool. He's like, it really is the way that people talk about it because you don't market it. I mean, it's not in trade magazines. It's the people that have been here getting on their podcasts and going out and talking to people going, you have to go.
And some people ask me like, well, the first night during registration, someone came up and said, can I come to your conference? I said, well, did you register? He went, no, like I'm here right now. I flew here. I know you don't have any hotel rooms, but can I come? I'm like, well, yeah, but we don't do any kind of marketing. We just send to our email list of past attendees, and we sold 85% of the seats in 4 hours.
Yeah.
And so people come in late. I'm like, you had your chance.
For 3 months.
For 3 months, like we gave you a long window before.
You could have been a speaker if you wanted to.
Yeah. It's a different conference. It's kind of an unconference because we took all of the vendor bits out. Now, not that there's not vendors here.
Yeah.
Vendors talk. At night, we let them have their own little shows and they do their marketing bits. And sometimes we get somebody sneaks through the system and gets up on stage and just does vendor blather for a while. And
it happens.
It happens. Every single year, no matter what we try, somebody sneaks one in. So next year, they're probably not going to get invited back.
You know what, though? I will say that it makes they stick out like a sore thumb.
Oh, they do.
I made a meme today that 80211 memes did not post, but it says, trust me. And you know how you can trust me is I'm wearing a suit jacket. It's like anytime someone walks on the WLPC stage to give a presentation.
Lance is over here.
Lance,
I got a jacket on.
He's an attendee. Yeah, you're attendees. When a speaker gets up and says, no, I'm not sales, and they're wearing the jacket, I'm like, uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah, it's the only time I wear a jacket.
but they stick out in. It's not even not being a part of the community because truly once you're here, I talked to so many. How many first timers do you think were here this year?
Almost 35% or so.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I talked to them.
But that's every year.
It is.
That ratio is the kind of same thing.
Yeah, and you talk to them and they're like, it's such a sense of community, and they always say, you make me feel so welcome, because people sit down at tables with people they don't know.
And you know what? Truthfully, I don't think people actually make them feel welcome. What it is they feel like they're home because everyone around me who's talks like I do. They say the words that I say. They're excited about the things I'm excited about. And sometimes when I'm back at my office, I feel alone.
That's exactly what May was saying earlier.
For once, I am not the weirdo.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so then you feel it's okay to talk to people. And so we try to encourage people, let more people into the conversations. But and we get complaints every year. People go, well, no one invited me to dinner. Well, who did you invite to dinner? And then they go, oh, yeah, I guess I can do that. And so many people who, like, I just this morning someone was saying, I really want to go to dinner with, I won't mention names, this guy and this guy. And I remember just a few years ago, that same person came to me and said, I want to go to dinner with Devin. How do I get to go? And now people want to go with them because it's an opportunity to grow. You come, I remember when May first came with your son, when he was teeny. Yeah, he was a little teeny kid.
He was 3.
Yeah, and now you're part of it. We don't mind having more people come in and join and help. It's just because that's what we like. So
what I do want to say real quick is one thing on that note that I saw this year, and I brought it up to a couple people. I think you were standing in the circle when I said it. I saw more women here this year than ever before. And that was such a great, wonderful, positive thing. Maybe because I watched the Barbie movie on the plane ride over here, but also because it was so cool to see just the diversity of the group of people that's here is insane. It's so great. And there's even like a whole Latin American section that hangs out in the back and like jokes with me because they know I speak Spanish. And it's like, there's such a wonderful group of people. And to see the women represented here was awesome. It was like so awesome.
It was
Did you
cool,
see-
but you know what? That's because, first of all, we're not women. We're just wireless
Yeah,
engineers.
yes, that's the thing.
And we're welcome as wireless engineers.
Yes, and you feel comfortable here, and it's an environment that
Yes.
it's so awesome. It's like what a wonderful thing you've built.
And I can't take any credit for it. It was, all I wanted was something that I wanted, and other people came and they liked the same thing, and so we did it again. And every year, all the secret is, what did you like? What would you like again? And every year it's less vendor.
Every year.
And even the ones that pop up, we will whack them down. But it's not less people who work for vendors, because we don't even ask the question on any of our databases. I don't know who's a vendor and who's not. I mean, I know them personally, and they might have worked for this company or this company. I don't know, but they're here because of who they are. When they speak, they will have their logo on the slides. Okay, that's fine. So, because they're out on the cutting edge making new products, making new things, and that's totally fine. It's the one we don't like is when they don't give us anything but the marketing alone. So if you can take technology and wrap it with your spin, yeah, totally fine. It's if your spin has no technology behind it, then those are the ones you say, they stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
Everyone
not the right
knows.
stage. So I want to get the mic over to Royal because I know he's got some questions for Keith. Oh, there's a question online. Oh, awesome. Okay, what is the question? From the viewers
Drew,
in Houston.
Yes, from the viewers in Houston. I don't think Keith can hear me, by the way, so you'll have to
We're
repeat
going to
my
repeat
question.
this for you. She's talking in our heads like a magical
We were
voice.
talking in Drew's head. But the question is about the future of the conference. What does Keith foresee for the future of the conference? What kinds of things would he like to see?
Fantastic question. Okay, so this is from online. What do you see for the future of the conference? What would you like to see? What direction do you think it's going in?
Good question. I have that not today, not tomorrow, but next week, it'll be like, oh, what are we going to do better next year? So we'll try to find new things. What didn't work? How do we add more things? The whole deep dive idea started with a little teeny thing we thought we'd do like 2 hours. And then we did a 3-hour one. And then we did a 4-hour one. And then we split it into 2 3-hours. And I'm thinking for next year, we had 15 deep dives this year. And 15 different whole entire topics. Each of them, some of them went super, super deep. Some were just fun. Drones was a good example.
Yeah.
We used to do 3D printing, and that they all kind of rise and fall in their own little curves. I think for next year, we're going to do a deep dive boot camp. So boot camps are normally 3 days, the 3 days before the conference. And historically, we have about 35 to 40% of attendees come for those extra 3 days. It used to be CWNA, CWAP kind of certifications, and now we have Hamana certification, ECHO certifications, but Python classes, deep dives into Wi-Fi 6 packet captures. So different boot camps, those 3-day ones. I think we have enough deep dives to choose from, and people say, I want to do that one, and this one, and this one, and I have to choose. And part of me says, oh, great, we have such a list to choose from, we picked good topics. But that also means people don't get to attend the ones they really wanted. So the idea is perhaps next year we'll have one option under boot camp is you go deep dive, different deep dive, different deep dive. So you get 3 days of only deep dives, and then once the conference starts, you get your 4th deep dive. So for people who are just like want to do that, I think we can make that change.
That's awesome.
Because, I'm actually surprised that you didn't mention, but every year at registration and afterwards, we get people that are asking, oh, well, I really like this deep dive, but I saw that you had this other one and I'd like to switch, and maybe I don't want to switch. Is there any way that I can do two? every year we get that question. So, the
we'll try
boot
to
camp-
adjust and see if we can make that happen. I'm lucky because one of the things we try to do to improve the deep dives every year, and truthfully, the real reason on the camera, the real reason is to give the deep dive instructors an artificial deadline. So Fernay or I or others will go, and 2 weeks prior to the conference, we'll fly to them and they have to teach us the deep dive. It forces them to have it done early,
Yeah.
and we can work out any kind of bugs. But I get to go to most of the deep dives. and so people are like, that's not fair. You got to go to all the deep dives. I'm like, oh, well, maybe we could open that up to other people. So
I love it. Roel, do you have any questions for Mr. Keith?
No questions other than positive vibes towards this conference. It's really the only conference I like going to. And I tell everyone to go to this conference. So if you're at home watching, you should go to the next one. I even go to the one in Prague.
Yeah.
I see you there.
Prague's great, man.
They're different, right?
Prague's
it's
great.
a very different atmosphere, different set of people. Prague is smaller. I like smaller events because you get to talk to people more. But also, it's Europe.
Also, it's Prague.
and I've actually been to the Prague one more than the Phoenix one, even though Phoenix is only a 48-minute flight for me.
Yeah.
I've been there more. But it's for me, it's just, I think you've got the model right. You're actually attracting the right people. Even when it comes to the presentations, it's done by vote, so we get to pick which ones we really want to hear about. And yeah, like other people, they want to take a different deep dive. I will say I did leave my deep dive and went into another one. I just wanted to take a peek and see what was going on, but I went back.
I did also because they were giving away candy in the one next door, and I just went in and grabbed a handful of candy and then walked back to mine.
Just see what I can get. But I really come just to talk to people.
Yeah.
I try to present if I can. I'll submit something, but it's a great place to even just learn, and not just learn, but to enhance your skills. So if you're looking to teach others, submitting a topic and speaking to all of these people in front of you is one way to get a lot of skills at the same time. And, as you start to sweat on your first one, it's okay. No one's going to talk about it afterwards, but your second one, you'll get more comfortable doing.
Yeah.
And that's why I like going here, because I will root for people who submit for their first presentation. Like Ali was one that did it last year, and I was just back there like, go.
Yeah. Laurie, man, when she did her presentation, man, it was like the whole, we were all interested in what she was saying, but just the fact that she was presenting, all of us were like, yeah, we're so excited for her.
Well, we had, maybe 140 submissions for presentations, and we only have 45 slots. So this year we started a spotlight where we took the next 20 or so in the queue and we had them record. They're not in front of the live session, but we had a recorded session but with live audience.
Awesome.
And there was some great things recorded. And we'll have those posted on the YouTube channel, and people can see them. And hopefully next year, some of those will get into the rookie category.
You bring something up that's so fundamental that is so great, because do you remember a time when people used to charge for all of this content and everything from the presentations and the speaking and these slots? This is all made available. It's all out there. It's all on the YouTube channel.
Someone came to me today and said, I heard you're selling the conference. And I said, what? And somebody had asked to buy the conference, and they said, you're leaving so much money on the table. If you just sold all those YouTube videos, that's what conferences do. You should put up vendor booths. You know how much money you can get from vendors to meet these people? And it's kind of like not the thing. And it's like, why don't you grow? And you could grow it so much more. We try to cap it no more than 10, maybe 12% a year, because I don't want to owe the hotel too much money. So I'll take a little teeny risk every year, but it keeps it so it's a little smaller. And you're right, the Prague one is about a third of the size of this, and it has a different feel.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
And by the way, if you like Prague, this is our last year in Prague.
What? That's okay. I'm not sad. I'm just shocked for a second.
We've capped out that building's capacity.
I would agree with
We'd
that.
like to grow, and it was just a little pushing, but we have one last year, and then we're going to go find another place in Europe to go to.
That is exciting. That is exciting. And there's Spain is coming. You're doing Barcelona?
Yeah, so we started doing, because of Fernet.
Yeah.
And by the way, any of you see Fernet's bodyguards today?
No.
Some of the Latin America group are well, compared to Fernet. And so he comes walking in, and there's like two of them behind on either side, and he looks and he goes, my bodyguards. So Fernet has something called Tesos. It's every Friday they have a meeting with Latin, Spanish speaking all around the world, and they every single Friday, no matter where they are.
No matter where they are.
And they're up to like 150 sessions, all recorded, all live. I mean, all live, but they also have the recordings. And he just is growing a community in Latin America.
Well, he just did Colombia, and he did Mexico City also.
So I went down and did the Colombia with him. They're way smaller than even the Prague. But the model that we use here doesn't quite work in those countries from a financial standpoint. So we don't include the hotel or not breakfast and lunch, or because those are the really expensive things
Just
from
have to
a
move
hotel
it a little bit,
standpoint. So we adjust it to keep the price down. We have one deep dive, and they all attend the same one.
Oh, okay.
And we try to keep the prices down. But we are doing a new one in Valencia, Spain this year. And we're doing Mexico City again in November.
So this is a great time for people to get on Duolingo and start learning Spanish so that you can have an excuse to attend in Valencia. That would be incredible.
But I've been to them, and it's kind of like blah, 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 Cisco, blah, 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 Ekahau, blah, blah, blah. So I at least know what they're talking about, yeah.
But the Tesos group is very welcoming as well. And
very much.
If you're interested
even to French speakers.
What?
Even to French speakers, they'll let you on. They won't understand you, but they'll let you on.
They're like, what language of Spanish is that? Or what? Oui?
But anyways, the Tesos group is super, super interesting. And if you're interested in the conferences in Valencia and Mexico, joining the Tesos group would be a great introduction, and you're going to meet great people.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic, fantastic. Okay, I think we have a party to get to, ladies and gentlemen. One thing before we leave, one of the qualities that I love about you as a friend and someone who is a mentor, a friend, everything that we've been through together is that you never stop learning, and you have this passion for learning things. What have you learned so far at the conference? What strikes your fancy so far?
For anyone who wants to get my little push to help get on a speaking slot, I love people who they have an idea, they don't know the answer, they work to go find it, and then they share it with us.
I love it.
So Wes, and it's obviously just not me, because Wes gets invited back, Peter gets invited back, because they go and they think, I wonder what the percentage of 6 gig clients is. And they go find the data, and then they tell us what it is. And the people who are like, we used to do WPA2, but we should go to 3, and then here's the data from 21, 22, and 23 were above 99%. And everyone went, who's afraid of the big bad wolf now? 99%, let's go. And so you might have been sitting back, but if you can find a piece of data and support it, and it doesn't always have to be positive. We had someone in Prague a couple of years ago who said, I want to know about BSS coloring. So I figured out how to do it, and it took months of lab work to get it tweaked just right, and we did this and did all these little things, and I proved when you get it tuned perfectly, in the lab you get about 10%, but in the real world you get maybe 5%. That was fantastic information.
It's great data.
That's fantastic data to say, thank you for doing all that work for me. I am not going to do that work for 5%. But if you didn't know and you listened to things, you're like, maybe we should try that. People who said, we should go to OFDMA 3-4 years ago, they had, and we were so proud. We had a deep dive whose sole purpose was to capture an OFDMA frame in the wild. We made Jetson Nanos, we made custom software, we did it all, we practiced it for weeks ahead, and literally in 6 hours of a deep dive, some people caught one. That's really useful information,
Yeah.
though. When all the people selling say, "Oh yeah, FDMA is going to change the world," maybe, but I can't even get one today. Yeah. So I like those kind of experimental things, which is why I like going to all the deep dives. Every one of them has something that I didn't know before, and I get to go sit for 6 hours with somebody and learn something new twice a year.
It was great. I did Flipper this year.
Oh, how'd you like it?
It was great. It was so much fun.
And that was Jason and I sitting in Prague at
breakfast.
At breakfast.
We were at breakfast.
And he said, "Oh, I had this Flipper," and I just said, "Really? You want to do a deep dive on it?" And he's like, "Why not?" And then he worked it. We had
Hold on. You're leaving out a very important part. I was sitting right beside you, and Keith, and so we were like, "Yeah, man, that'd be great." And Bashar was like, "Okay, yeah, I think I'll do that." And Keith's over here on his phone, and we look over, and Keith goes, "I just ordered 40 flippers. You're going to do the class."
Well, there was that too, yeah.
I mean, like, no push, no push. Well, on that note, it's coming up on 7:30. We've got an incredible 10-year anniversary party going on outside. Y'all, May, it's great to see you. Lance, thanks for hanging out, man. Roel, we're on a podcast together. It's fantastic. And Keith, man, I can't wait to see you in Prague. If not before, there's so many great events that we all have. This has been really fun, man.
Congratulations on 10 years.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a
And
great
getting us all together a year after year and making December 15th or about the best day of the year.
yeah.
December 15th happens to be a registration
day.
every day.
Oh yeah, it's in everybody's calendar.
That's just how it works. And really, it's probably the most successful high school reunion because most of us never went to ours.
Yeah, I heard it's you. I think you said that last night, and this is such a great family atmosphere. So on that note, let's go out and have some fun. Thank you for listening. I'm Drew with Wireless Nerd with Waves, Roel with Clear to Send. And then we've got Unplugged Connectivity. You guys on the other side, you want to say hello? Pop on the camera one last time on Unplugged and say hello, Miss Karam.
Thank you, everybody, so much. That's been awesome. I've enjoyed it a lot. I was just part of the audience. I couldn't even ask any more questions. I was just enjoying it so much. So thank you, everybody. Congrats, Keith, on the 10 years. Everybody, follow us Unplugged on youtube.com/GetUnplugged at GetUnplugged. Also, don't forget to follow Clear to Send and Waves.
Yeah, how do you subscribe to where do you find your podcasts and your content?
Just go to cleartosend.net.
Cleartosend.net. Cleartosend.net. Yep.
Cleartosend.net.
There you go.
Yeah, usually I should know to have a mic, but yeah, you can find us at cleartosend.net. Everything's there.
Yep, and I'm on wirelessnerd.net. And Keith.
Yeah, I have one
plug it.
called Heavy Wireless. It's part of the Packet Pushers podcast network.
Yeah, very good.
Say that 3 times fast. But it works. And so Heavy Wireless is a fun one, and we get to dive into, and all of us have podcasts that talk about the same subject, slightly different angles, and they're all enjoyable.
I think so. I listen to his at double speed, and it sounds hilarious. Anyway.
We can't listen to yours at double speed.
No, it's impossible. Well, thanks for listening. Y'all have a wonderful evening. We're going to go out, and we hope to see you here next year at WLPC. If not here, we'll see you in Prague. We'll see you in Spain. We'll see you in Mexico. We will see you somewhere. Thanks for listening. Have a great evening. And with that, we are out of here.